I thought I had the perfect life. A loving wife, Sarah, a beautiful home, and a successful career. We'd been married for 10 years, and I honestly believed we were happy. Looking back, maybe I was just naive. The signs were there. I just didn't want to see them. Her late nights at work, the way she'd jump whenever her phone buzzed, the sudden distance that grew between us like an invisible wall. I brushed it all off as stress. After all, her new job was demanding, or so she said. The truth came crashing down on my birthday. I'd planned a surprise for her, coming home early with her favorite flowers and reservations at the restaurant where I proposed. I walked in, humming to myself, and found her. Not alone. She was with him, a guy from her office named Mark, in our living room on our couch. The shock was so intense, it felt like the air was sucked out of my lungs. They didn't even notice me at first. The flowers dropped from my hand, the thud echoing in the sudden silence as their eyes finally met mine. There was no shouting, no screaming, just a cold, heavy silence. The look on her face wasn't guilt or remorse, it was annoyance, like I'd interrupted something important. Mark, on the other hand, just looked smug. He stood up, buttoned his shirt, and had the audacity to offer me a weak sorry. "Man," Sarah finally spoke, but her words were like daggers. "Well, I guess the secret's out," she said, shrugging as if she were talking about a spilled drink. She told me she was bored, that our life was too predictable, and that Mark made her feel alive. 10 years of marriage, tossed aside because she was bored. That night, I packed a bag and left the house I'd worked so hard to build. I stayed at a cheap motel, the kind where the walls are paper thin, and you can hear every argument and every lonely cough. I didn't sleep. I just stared at the ceiling, replaying the scene over and over, the betrayal burning a hole in my chest. Rage, sadness, and a profound sense of humiliation washed over me in waves. By sunrise, the sadness had hardened into something else. A cold, calculated resolve. She wanted excitement. She wanted a life less predictable. Fine, I would give it to her. But not in the way she expected. This wasn't just about getting divorced. It was about getting even. My journey of revenge had just begun. The first step was the divorce. Sarah assumed I'd roll over, give her the house, half of my savings, and walk away with my tail between my legs. She underestimated me. I hired the best, most ruthless divorce lawyer in the city, Shark. We meticulously went through our finances. Sarah had been careless, using our joint accounts for expensive dinners, hotel stays, and gifts from Mark. Every transaction was a nail in her coffin. We documented everything. The sheer volume of evidence was staggering. Her affair wasn't a one-time mistake. It was a long-term calculated betrayal, funded by my hard work. While the lawyers were battling it out, I focused on phase 2, her career. Mark was a senior manager at a large tech firm, the same one where Sarah worked. Their affair was an open secret in their department, a blatant violation of company policy. I didn't have to dig deep. I just had to provide a little push, an anonymous email to HR, complete with dates, times, and a few choice photos ID managed to recover from our shared cloud account she forgot to log out of. The photos weren't explicit, just amming. Them at a business dinner looking far too cozy, a weekend trip to a cabin that was definitely not a company retreat. The fallout was spectacular. The company launched a full-scale internal investigation. It turned out Mark had a history of inappropriate relationships with subordinates. He wasn't just fired, he was disgraced. And Sarah? She was so closely associated with him that her position became untenable. She was let go for unprofessional conduct and violating company ethics. Suddenly, the woman who was bored with her stable life had no stability at all. No job, no lover, and a divorce that was rapidly turning against her. In court, the judge was not impressed with her. My lawyer presented the evidence of her infidelity and her reckless spending of marital assets. When she tried to claim half of my business, which I'd started before we even met, the judge nearly laughed her out of the courtroom. The final settlement was a masterpiece of legal maneuvering. She didn't get the house. She didn't get alimony. She got her personal belongings and a fraction of our joint savings, most of which had already been spent on her affair. She was left with nothing but the consequences of her own actions. The day the divorce was finalized, I felt a strange sense of emptiness. I expected to feel triumphant, but instead I just felt tired. The revenge had consumed me for months. But as I walked out of the courthouse, I got a text from an old friend asking if I wanted to grab a beer. And for the first time in a long time, I said yes. Sitting there, catching up with someone who genuinely cared, I realized the revenge wasn't the point. The point was getting my life back. It wasn't an overnight transformation. I sold the house, that place of painful memories, and moved into a new apartment downtown. I reconnected with friends I'd neglected, picked up old hobbies, and started traveling. I went hiking in the mountains, learned to cook something other than scrambled eggs, and even took a pottery class, which I was terrible at, but it made me laugh. I was building a new life, one piece at a time, a life that was entirely my own. A year later, I ran into a mutual friend who told me about Sarah. After losing her job, she couldn't find another one in her field. Her reputation was ruined. Mark had moved on without a second glance. She was living in a small apartment across town, working a low-wage retail job. The friend said she seemed bitter and constantly complained about how unfair life was. I felt a brief, fleeting moment of satisfaction, but it was quickly replaced by something else: pity. Her quest for excitement had led her to a dead end. My revenge was complete, but it didn't bring me the joy I thought it would. The real victory wasn't her downfall. It was my own rise from the ashes. It was reclaiming my identity, my happiness, and my future. The betrayal almost broke me, but in the end, it forced me to build a stronger, better version of myself. I learned that the best revenge isn't about destroying the person who hurt you, but about refusing to let them destroy you. It's about building a life so full and happy that they become an insignificant footnote in your story. And my story was just getting started. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories.